Hey there, what's up? It's a Tuesday edition of the Winner Circle, presented by America's Best Racing and Naira Bets, the official online betting partner of the Belmont Stakes and Saratoga Racecourse. I'm Bram Weinstein. That is Dan Torgsman. How was your long weekend, Dan?
It was good. I got to spend part of it with you virtually, so
right.
It had to be good.
And we'll relive all of that in a moment. What else did you do?
Nothing. I mean, that was the highlight of my weekend. I watched a lot of Netflix. Two great shows I discovered this weekend on Netflix. White Lotus.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's pretty good, huh?
Pretty good. I still don't know what the point was, but yes. And the manager of the property is fantastic in it. But outside of that, and shot beautifully. I just don't know the point, but go on. Yes. What's the other one?
The point is to kill time when we're still mostly stuck inside. So the other one is Clickbait, which was surprisingly good. I got
don't tell me. I'm only through 3 episodes of it, so don't tell me. Don't tell me.
It's not bad. I mean, it's good. They really do build they keep the suspense going throughout. I thought it was spectacular.
Extremely cheesy, but I feel like extremely cheesy on purpose. And it's got Vince from Entourage as a murdered. Well, I shouldn't have said murdered. Anyway, whatever. Yes, I'm mid that show right now. I'm mid that show, so I'm working on it. I'm with you. I'm looking for new shows. I'm on Ted Lasso season 2. Have you gotten around to Ted Lasso yet?
Oh yeah, we're to the point where whatever we're doing on a Friday, if we're out, running some errands on a Friday, or we're just about to come home, or we're out to dinner, or whatever we're doing, my wife is always like, "Look, we've got to save enough energy to go home and watch Lasso tonight. We're staying up. We can't wait. We can't watch it on DVR or watch it on whatever HBO Max or whatever it's on after the fact." So yeah, we are completely caught up, and it's the best show. It is the best show.
I'll give you a show for you to think about later. Let's get back to sports. I'm sure everyone's like, stop, like what is going on? Like what's happening right now? Oh, here's one. Wait a minute. I've heard this is very good. This is the Steve Marty Short thing, Murder Only in the Building. I'm pretty sure that's the new Steve Marty Short vehicle. Yeah, I'm pretty sure about that.
I'm a huge Martin Short fan, but I saw the two of them talking about the show on Bill Maher a few weeks ago, and I was like, I don't know, but I'll give it a shot if people are vouching for it.
All right, cool. All right. Meantime, Saratoga closed its doors for another season, and we got to hang out and do the Jockey Club Gold Cup and the Flower Bowl, which were oddly at Saratoga this year. Unusual turn of events with that. So let's start with the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Check out the stretch run there.
It is Forza Dioro and Max Player. Happy Saver switches to the outside for the final stretch run. And it is Forza Dioro down at the rail. Max Player on the outside. Max Player and Forza Dioro. And Max Player has the lead inside the 8th pole. Forza Dioro is second. Then Happy Saver and Chess Chief. They're coming out for the finish. And it is Max Player to win Saratoga's Jockey Club Gold Cup. And the final time for the 1.25 miles, 2 minutes, 2 2/5 seconds.
All right, so we were doing the show the other day, and none of us ended up on Max Player, which seemed silly off of what his last performance was coming into it. But I think we all sat there and said, he's not going to do it again. This is the traditional bounce. That's as good as it's going to get. And there were a couple of others, like Forza Dioro was getting, I thought, a little too much support, honestly, coming into it, but still. And then I don't know who was it. Jess was on the show basically telling us looks incredible. Like it was the whole looks incredible. And then Happy Saver was there, and Happy Saver looked like the obvious choice if you weren't going to go Max Player. I'm still, I guess, I don't know. This is one of those, I shouldn't be surprised, but I guess I was a little bit.
Yeah. So let's start with Forza Dioro real quick, who ran a good race, right? Was on the lead and held well enough, finished third. I'll tell you something. You always make fun of me about Tacitus. I remember this happening a number of times over the years, specifically at Saratoga with Bill Mott horses. Bill Mott can do no wrong at Saratoga, and his horses always get overbet in stakes races, especially horses jumping up in class, horses switching surfaces. I got burnt the week prior. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head who the horse. Oh, Harvey's Little Goyle. I was like, oh yeah, I'm all in on Harvey's Little Goyle. The horse was, I think, 8-1 morning line, or maybe 10-1 morning line, was bet down to like 5-1 and ran up the track on the switch from turf to dirt. Look, it's a Bill Mott thing, and he's a wizard, and so you don't discount him, and you've got to have a healthy respect for him. But he's also going to get bet down all the time, especially at Saratoga. So I think that's what happened with all the money that Forza d'Oro was taking. Not to say that there isn't a bright future ahead for Forza d'Oro, but you always pay a little premium when you're betting Bill Mott specifically at Saratoga.
Okay, because that makes sense now, because I'm looking at it going, I don't know how that horse is the favorite, which it basically went off as the favorite. Like, clearly, this felt like a really tough spot, and to me was the third choice on the board. But, so I stayed away from that one as a winner, but I got spooked by it on the tote board, because I'm looking at this going, what do I not see here? What do I not see here? And in the end, he tried to wire with that horse, and that was going to be tough in that field.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but look, he really didn't have any excuse except for the fact that this was a big step up in class for a horse who'd only previously run in a grade. Well, he'd run in a grade 2, didn't run well as a 2-year-old, but had only previously run in a grade 3 and was coming off an allowance win. As far as Max Player, look, they've discovered something. Sometimes a switch in tactics, people are always like, oh yeah, like maybe blinkers on, blinkers off. How is this horse going to react to one thing? Sometimes a simple switch in tactics, in racing tactics, is all it takes. This is a horse who historically, all throughout his 2- and 3-year-old season, was coming from way off the pace. And what was he doing? He was finishing 3rd every time, or finishing 5th. So they're like, you know what? Let's put him a little closer to the pace and see what happens. What do you know? You put this horse closer to the pace, a lot more competitive, and he kicked beautifully. By the way, it really was the start of just like an epic weekend for Steve Asmussen, who goes on to win, 3 grade 1s over the weekend. Closes it out with a win in the Hopeful yesterday, and 5 grade 1s for the meet, the same meet where he becomes the all-time winningest trainer in North America. So big weekend for Asmussen, and Max Player is now a player in this classic division, where if you asked me just 3 nights ago, I would have said no chance.
No chance. I agree. All right. I want to revisit that with you, since we're kind of through most of the major preps as we get set for the Breeders' Cup Classic. And I'll ask you about that in a bit. But let's go back to Saratoga here. And let me show you the stretch run of the Flower Bowl, which had an interesting finish as well.
Comes Great Island now up to challenge La Signore for the lead. Warlike Goddess is coming on now, and down on the inside is American Bridge, is putting in a late run. Then My Sister Nat. Warlike Goddess is asked for a run, and she is responding. Warlike Goddess in front here as they come on for the finish, and she wins the Grade 1 Flower Bowl.
So Warlike Goddess was a heavy favorite coming into this thing. I mean, and obviously, you go look at her past performances and you'd see why. And this was stunning. This is one of those. La Signore is a very good horse. Tried to go wire to wire as well. I guess felt like that was her only real shot at her, and got blown out as the rest of the field did. And so I don't know. It feels sky's the limit on Warlike Goddess from this point forward.
I think you're right. I mean, this is a horse who, has kind of gradually kind of taken one step after another, really turned it on. Going into the spring at Gulfstream, then had an incredible effort at Keeneland in the Bewitched, and then came back and won, with just ease in the Glens Falls. But then you were like, all right, look, this is another, My Sister Nat again, who's a graded stakes winner. You already mentioned La Signore, a horse that's grade 1 tested. What is she going to do here? And again, it's not that she's winning these races now. She's making it look so easy, and that's the scary part. And we'll talk about another horse in a moment who's kind of made it look so easy that it's scary, to the point where people are saying this might be the greatest horse we've seen in years. And we've had a lot of great horses over the past few years. We'll get back to that horse in a moment. As far as Warlike Goddess, though, it does set up now an interesting potential matchup as we look into this filly and mare turf division with Santa Barbara, who's a horse that I brought up while we were streaming live the other day. Santa Barbara has looked untouchable as well. So you've got 2 horses now who look like, they haven't even shown us their best yet. What's going to happen when they meet up in the Breeders' Cup, which hopefully they do. And there's a lot more depth in that division too. But really, you would think it's just down to the two of them. I did an unscientific survey, the Twitter poll, and there are still, even after that win by Warlike Goddess, I think overwhelmingly people are still on board with Santa Barbara being the favorite in that division.
I mean, after what I just saw, that's you're gonna have a hard time talking me off of that one after that. Anyway, Saratoga ended, this weekend. So, how many times did you get up there? 2? I got up there 1. 2 trips for you?
Yeah, 2 trips, Whitney and Travers.
Yeah. I mean, all things considered with what's going on in the world right now, I think things went off pretty well up there, which has become a touristy destination. And I know like New York, fortunately, especially in that part of the country, hasn't been as hot spotty as some of the other areas in the country have been. So that maybe the timing of that was pretty good. But all things considered, it felt a little normal again with the Saratoga summer season. It did a little bit.
It did. Yeah, it was really nice. I mean, and there were, I certainly heard of people sort of spot cases of people testing positive for COVID, which of course, kind of did scare me away. I was supposed to go for a 3rd weekend. I only ended up going for 2 because I just wanted to be safe. And so, but yeah, I think on the whole, I mean, I saw a lot of people there who spent their entire meet there and they were fine. And certainly the atmosphere and energy was where it always is. If anything, it was sort of, at a more fevered pitch because people had been so starved for that Saratoga energy and excitement. So we were on, when we were live on Travers Day with Ian Rappaport, and he was talking about the energy and kind of just it being at a different kind of level. I think he'd been to the Derby and he'd experienced racing on the largest scale, but this was comparable. And usually, it's maybe just a cut below, like the Derby or a Triple Crown race when you were at Saratoga. But no, like this was top level energy, and also just not only felt like you're at an event, the racing itself was quality and just fun to watch. I mean, so many races that stand out to me. I mean, for me, I'm always about like the race that I won the most money in, and so for me, it was Lexingtonian in the Forgo. In the Vanderbilt. And but there was, I mean, the Forensic Fire race, the biting incident, Jackie's Warrior, in the Amsterdam and in the Jerkins. There's so many good races.
Yeah, it was really good. I had the opportunity to go up what was the opening weekend. And that was great. I had a great time. It was nice to feel normal again. I got my kids all dressed up. We got to go there. They got to experience it. It didn't feel weird. It was nice. It was just nice to do it. All right. Bet your favorite tracks online with Naira Bets, available nationwide in 30 states. Naira Bets offers best-in-class HD live video and replays, online contests to compete with other Naira Bets players, exclusive promotions that give back more, and expert picks and analysis with an easy-to-use, free-to-download app. Betting horse racing online has never been easier and safer. Sign up for Naira Bets now to earn a $200 sign-up bonus with promo code ABR200. And welcome back to the Winner's Circle. I'm Bram Weinstein with Dan Torgman. Dan teased the horse that he's dying to show you from Del Mar over the weekend, Flightline. And so why don't we start there? Because I want to get into, we've gotten through the majority of the major preps for the Breeders' Cup Classics. We have a pretty good sense of who's going to be in the field, who's going to be challenging for it. We can talk about them in a moment. But first, here's Flightline, who won't be part of that, but could be part of a lot of big things in the future. Check this out.
Mile to go, Notre Dame at the rail and Flightline. These two stride for stride. Flightline now takes the advantage as they come towards the quarter pole. Flightline adding distance every time he strides away here, and Flightline now opening up on them, still just been handwritten out here. Notre Dame dropping back in second. They're at the top of the lane now, and Flightline is clear by 5. Make that 6 as they come to the 16th. Make it 8 lengths. Beautiful looker, great action, has the talent. Is this the next superstar? Flightline trots home. Second will be Escape Route, and third Parnelli.
Won by 12 3/4 lengths. There is a 48-year-old record at Del Mar for 6 furlongs that I think could have been broken if they chose to. As you saw in the stretch there, he was just taking it easy in there, was not pushing the horse at all. It was just gliding. And had he pushed for that, I think they could have broken the record for best time in 6 furlongs. And I had read a quote from the trainer who was like, we weren't going for that. That's not what we're looking for at this moment. But at this juncture, I'm not sure I've seen something look that easy in a really long time. And that horse took the turn, was shot out of a cannon, did not need to be even pushed for a second, and just kept getting faster and faster and faster.
Yeah, I mean, the stride on that horse is just, it's something that you see, every, maybe you see 2 or 3 horses in a generation move like that. And I don't want to be too hyperbolic, but he earned a 114 Beyer speed figure. It was his second start of the year, the second start of his career. To earn a 114 Beyer speed figure, that's a number that's usually not touched by, more than 1 or 2 horses a year. He did it in his first race back since April, where he earned a 105 Beyer speed figure on debut. And I mean, for those who don't know, Beyer speed figure is like the rating of how fast you're going, given all the variables in the race. To go that fast is something that, any horse owner or anybody who's involved in horse racing would hope that their horse would hit 100 Beyer speed figure at some point in their career. The fact that he's had a 105 and a 114 in his first 2, and he doesn't even look like he's trying. I mean, it's hard to wrap your mind around. I don't know exactly what we're seeing with it. I mean, and these are, by the way, these were 2 sprint races. The horse has pedigree to go longer. They paid $1 million for him at sale. He should excel as he goes longer. He's not going to be a sprinter. This is not even him running in the kinds of races that he's supposed to do his best in. So
you could tell distance is not a problem. I mean, there was not even urging happening with him.
They're going to have a hard time. And when he goes longer, he's going to run into horses that are just by nature not as fast early. And so he's going to get off to even easier leads, you would think. And he's just going to, just be dominant. I mean, that's what it appears like. If he's healthy and keeps doing what he's doing, I don't know which horse sticks with this horse. The only thing I'm a little confused about is that I've seen a couple of quotes, specifically from John Sadler, his trainer, which indicate that they're targeting, the goal here is the Malibu Stakes, which is on December 26th. And if you look at a calendar, that's 2 months after the Breeders' Cup, or 7 weeks after the Breeders' Cup. That's disappointing. I mean, I know he's only run twice, but
why? Why are they saying that?
Why is he saying that?
Yeah.
My only guess is that they're just bringing him along slowly. Look, if he hadn't run since April, and that was his first race, and he's a 3-year-old, I would imagine he's had some issues getting to the races. I don't know what they are. I can't find any articles that indicate what specifically the issues were. But I'm thinking they're just bringing him along slowly because they're like, we've got something special here. And we're using kid gloves and all the rest of it. And we don't want to push him too hard, too fast. But that being said, I mean, it's not like, maybe it won't be hard for him because he's done it so easily. I mean, he hasn't been challenged yet. And, if you don't want to stretch him out, I'm not saying run him in the Classic here. I'm saying, maybe run him in the Dirt Mile. I mean, that seems like a logical next step. I know it would only be his 3rd career start and he'd be taking a huge step up, but I'd love to see that. I mean, it would really be a shame if we don't, if we don't get him in the Classic this year. And then, obviously if it's a horse who they've been moving along slowly because of whatever issue there might be, there's no guarantee we're going to see him in the Breeders' Cup next year, right? So I'd like to see, I'd love to see him at the Breeders' Cup. I mean, I don't, unless I'm missing something, the quotes that I'm seeing from John Sadler indicate they're going to bypass and they're going to, the Malibu Stakes is the goal.
And then what? Try to set up for a pretty heavy next season.
I would imagine, yeah. I mean, you've got the Pegasus, you've got, all the big money races.
What's the length of the Pegasus? 1 1/8? I
believe it's a mile. It's a mile. It's either 1 1/8 or 1 3/16.
It's a heck of a stretch out to go from that's a heck of a. I don't think it doesn't look like a distance is a problem. That's a heck of a stretch out from running 6 furlongs to your next race or the one after that is that length. So I don't know.
Well, what I would imagine they're going to try to do, they're going to try to get a mile race in them between now and the Malibu. then Malibu, they'll go 2 turns, and then from there maybe go to the Pegasus. So the Pegasus, let me just real quick just confirm here. Dang it, hold on, I'm gonna pull it up here. Confirm, because now I think it's like 1.25 miles, and I'm like, what was I talking about? Oh, it's 1.125 miles. It's 1.125 miles. So yeah.
Ooh, look at me! Look at me with the memory.
You
I'd like to thank William for this one. Del Mar total handle $569 million, 31 days of racing. Saratoga handle 815. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good summer. People want to be back. All right, let me stay on Del Mar Breeders' Cup Classic. All right, so Flightline probably not showing up for that weekend. Wouldn't be the Classic, would be one of the other races. And I'm with you. After seeing that, I'm kind of like, I don't know how he's not entered into something right for that weekend. Anyway, Breeders' Cup Classic feels relatively set with the top tier horses now. We assume Essential Quality is going to be there. Knicks Go, we assume, is going to be there. Tripoli, have to think, how do you feel about him after his win? Maxfield, how do you feel about him at this point? Mandaloon, how do you feel about Mandaloon these days? And then from the other day, Max Power, who that was heck of a run, backing up from the Suburban. So where are you right now on the Breeders' Cup Classic?
So I'll say with the 3-year-old, so Mandaloon, last I heard, it's going to be off the trail. So I wouldn't expect to see, Mandaloon. But as far as the other 3-year-olds, I mean, I think Hot Rod Charlie is one who's always gutsy.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see Hot Rod Charlie. As far as I know, they're still, kind of campaigning him toward the Classic. The other 3-year-old, obviously Essential Quality is a standout, and I think is going to be super tough. I think the big variable here is Latruska and whether Latruska actually is entered in the Classic, because if she is, she alters the entire pace dynamic of the race. Like, I'm not seeing a whole lot of speed, or sort of like, dead red speed in the Classic. And of course, unless you look at, I think, let me just say this, it would greatly benefit Knicks Go, right? I think Knicks Go would become extremely, I'm trying to figure out who goes with Knicks Go at all. Is it Midnight Bourbon maybe? I don't know. I don't know Midnight Bourbon's fast enough to go at Knicks Go. If Medina Spirit goes. So I think I'm looking at there are a lot of moving pieces here, but I think Latruska is the most quality speed who could potentially give Knicks Go a run for his money. And if she's in, and then who knows, maybe you get a Midnight Bourbon, maybe you get a Medina Spirit with a little bit of speed too. Well, not a little bit, with a lot of speed. If you get all that speed, then you start really liking, Essential Quality, even though he'd be stepping up, 3-year-old taking on older. It's always been tough, and he's done everything that's been asked of him, but that's always been tough. I think the horse that makes the most sense, if it does turn out to be a real, like, sort of, if you do get Latruska and Knicks Go and all these horses I'm talking about, I think Maxfield is the horse that, makes the most sense as a potential bounce back. Obviously, things weren't, the Whitney was not his best day, and Knicks Go had things mostly his own way that day. So I think, I think Maxfield is one who I'm sort of gravitating toward at this moment, if the pace shapes up a certain way.
It's funny. Like, I don't know if there's because I don't think, like, I hear a lot of people talk about everyone else other than Essential Quality, which I always find very interesting. Like, I don't know what it is about that one that I guess it isn't visually as impressive as some of the other previous champions.
I think
it could be, but like, I feel like I'm going to be saying the same thing in the week of that race that I did every other time when he's raced this year, which is you're going to have a really hard time talking me off of that one. Knicks Go at his best looks unbeatable to me. And so I guess we'll see where we are with that. But I have a feeling if you're going to give me a number on Essential Quality that is 3-1 or better, which I doubt, but still, if you are, you're stealing, with that horse. So that's what
I don't think it's impossible. 3-1 might be the upper edge of it, but I think if you've got Knicks Go and Maxfield in there, I think Knicks Go goes off as a slight favorite over.
So do I. And that's why I think the number is going to be all right on the number is going to be enticing on Essential Quality, or as enticing as it can be for a horse of that caliber.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And you mentioned a horse a few minutes ago that I think is interesting, Tripoli. That's a horse who's improving. And he's also a horse who, if this turns out to be a speed-filled race somehow, and if all the horses who I mentioned with speed end up going, I mean, why not Tripoli? I mean, he'd have to take that next big step forward, but I could see it happening. I mean, the horses that I'm kind of off of at this point entirely, and maybe box these horses in your exacta or trifecta now that I'm saying their names. I mean, the Express Trains and the Happy Savers of the world, like, they just haven't taken, to my eyes, that next step to prove that they belong in that field with some of the horses we've talked about. So at least I can eliminate a couple of them, but until we see how the race, definitively sets up, it's hard to say, yes, absolutely this horse. But if you're starting to think about value now, man, if you told me 3-1 or 7-2 on Essential Quality right now, that would be enticing.
Yeah, it would be. All right, Dan, it is the start of football season. Can you believe it? We're here. 2 nights away at the time of our taping here, 2 nights away from Cowboys Buccaneers. So that's the NFL season starting up on Thursday night. And then this weekend, full slate, everyone gets going. Here we go. Full stadiums. It was, man, I don't know if you caught some of the college football over the weekend, but seeing 80,000 people all maskless, like in tight quarters, that was something. That was something, but I guess I might as well get used to it. I'll be doing that myself starting on Sunday. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Well, let's do it. I wanted to just do like a quick style. I'm going to throw you the division. I want the division winner and the case for it. You ready to do this?
Yeah. All right. Sure.
All right. Let's start with yours. NFC East. So you got.
I mean, I call the Washington game, so I can't not say Washington. And I actually for some reason, I think people are running out of things to say. For some reason, people have turned and are trying to make Philadelphia some kind of dark horse, and I literally don't see it at all of the 4 teams. So I don't think this is a particularly strong division again. I don't think it'll be as weak as it was a year ago. If Daniel Jones is really good, the Giants are going to win the division. If Daniel Jones does what he does in the past, the Giants will not. And then with Dallas, if Dak Prescott stays healthy, they should be right there. But, I don't think there's any certainty of that. So Washington with a top 5 defense, they're going to win the division again.
It's interesting. I'm just looking at the preseason, standings, which, again, you can't put too much stock in them or any stock at all. Cowboys 0-4, Giants 0-3, Eagles 0-2, Washington 1-2. NFC North, who do you like?
Green Bay. I mean, now that Rodgers is back, I think the coaching staff situation in Chicago is going to be interesting to watch. I think they should be playing Justin Fields sooner rather than later. I'm interested in Detroit. I just don't think they have a roster that can compete yet. And I think Minnesota goes sideways this year and makes a quarterback decision. So I think Green Bay actually easily wins that division.
All right. The breezeless Saints, the Bucks and Brady again, or someone else in the NFC South?
I'm trying to figure out, does Tom Brady think it's important to go undefeated as the final mic drop? So I got a hard time buying anybody beating them in that division without a lot of injuries. I think Atlanta's going to be a touch better than people think, but not good enough. Carolina's probably not good enough. And New Orleans without Breeze, I think, is in trouble. I think they're going to find out what it was like. Go ask New England what it was like without their star quarterback last year. So Brady and the Bucks, and probably pretty easily.
NFC West is a tough read for me. I feel like you had a couple of teams go in different directions than expected. San Francisco, I think, I thought would do a lot better last year. I mean, what do you think of that division?
Best division in football, top to bottom. I can make a case for any of the 4 to win it. I'm going to pick San Francisco here. I don't think they'll have the luck with the bad luck with the injuries of a year ago, and I think they're probably better. I like the way they're coached. But I think you can make a case for any of them and be pretty much right going into the season. I think that's the toughest division in football.
AFC East.
Buffalo, but I do think New England is going to be surprisingly better. I don't know if surprise is the right word, but I think they're a playoff team to me this year. They're a deep roster. I know it is a rookie quarterback, so we'll see. So if Buffalo has a tough year for whatever reason, then I wouldn't be surprised if Belichick and company are right there again. But I think that's a 2-bid league again this year. And I think Buffalo looks like a team that should be in the Super Bowl. So I think they're going to win the division there.
All right. The Ravens, I think for whatever reason, they're the team that I'm like, you know what? Like, I think they're being overlooked. A little bit of a down year last year. I mean, what do you think of the AFC North?
I am going to pick Cleveland, and I know that that's silly to do that based on their history, but I'm going to pick Cleveland here. I think Pittsburgh's offense is in trouble. I think Cincinnati's going to need another year, although they'll be better if Burrow is healthy. Baltimore's very good. Baltimore's definitively a playoff team. I'm hunching here that Cleveland is on the right edge of turning that corner and that they're going to end up being a semi-surprise winner of that division this year.
Yeah, all right. AFC South, the weakest division?
Think so. I think Tennessee runs away with it. I'm very interested in Trevor Lawrence. I think he's the truth, the real deal. I don't think the team's good enough to really compete, but I'm very interested in him. Houston's an S show. And Indianapolis, I don't trust that Wentz is healthy, let alone going to play the way he did, a few years ago before all the injuries and before everything had the falling out in Philadelphia. So I think Tennessee, if they stay out of the COVID problems, I think Tennessee is an easy winner of that division this year.
Anyone beating the Chiefs in the AFC West? Are they going 15?
I wouldn't pick anyone else. I'm not going to pick anybody else. I'm a believer in Herbert. We're going to see him here in Washington. He's our opener. So I believe that guy might be a top 5 quarterback and quick. But, picking against the Chiefs seems like foolish. So I'll take Kansas City.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I like Herbert too a lot. I mean, I fall in love with these guys with these just like big arms, and I'm just like, I ended up watching a lot of their games last year, and I was like, this guy just, one play gone slightly differently, or another here and there. I'm like, the Chargers should have been a lot better than they were last year. I like Herbert a lot, so I'm with you.
I'm going to go Tampa Bay and Buffalo Super Bowl. That's what I'm going with this year.
Okay. That's it. I was gonna say it feels a little safe, but it doesn't, because you're not sending the Chiefs to the Super Bowl. So I guess you are going
safe. Yeah, it's pretty safe. It's pretty safe. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, without injuries, I don't know who beats Tampa Bay. So and now their division feels actually weaker. With New Orleans being a little marginalized. Like I think, I actually think the best team in the NFC is probably San Francisco, top to bottom. But I think they have a much harder road to get out of their division. And if they end up being a wild card team, they end up having a much harder road to get to the Super Bowl. I think Tampa Bay is definitively going to win that division, and then who knows if they get the bye or whatever it is, and then it just gets that much easier for them. So,
yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, this is like a crazy week. We've talked a little bit. Like I've got a lot of movement in my life at the moment, but the one thing I'm looking at, and I've circled on the calendars Thursday, kickoff football again. I'm just pumped. I'm just excited to get this season started. So
I know I'm pumped too. All right, last thing, real quick. I am typically mortally frightened of betting Kentucky Downs because I don't know what it is about that place, but I am never even close. So do you do well there? Because I love the races there, but I am so not even close to on it every time I even make it a stab at it. I don't know why. It's something about that venue. It spooks me. It doesn't work for me.
Well, I mean, I think for now, if we've seen anything over the first couple of days, all you got to do is bet Joel Rosario, since I think he's won about half the races he's been in. And in past years, like, I mean, you could find jockeys getting hot there. Like the European jockeys have done well there, right? Like the Leperoux and Giroux. I mean, because of, the fact that it's an undulating turf course that is kind of similar to what you find in Europe. But yeah, no, in terms of actually, it truly is. It's like one of the toughest puzzles in the game. It's hard enough to play like Saratoga, where you have a lot of horses shipping in on a daily basis, coming from different tracks and different circuits, all targeting Saratoga. It's another thing entirely where it's only like a 9-day meet, and you really have horses coming from not just sort of the big hubs, not from New York or from Florida, but coming from like Indiana and coming from, sort of smaller circuit tracks where, it's hard to match up with form, at Indiana Grand, how that compares to, form from a horse who maybe just finished third in a stake at Delaware. It's really impossible. So yeah, I mean, short answer is no. I have no clue. And so what I've done mostly is I've sat out, or you could always mitigate your risk by finding somebody like JD and, splitting a ticket with him and, putting a bunch of horses in so you get more coverage, because betting a ticket straight at like a pick 3 or a pick 4 at Kentucky Downs, there's so many variables. Like trying to nail it on your own is quite the challenge.
Yeah, it is a challenge. All right, Dan, have a great week. I will see you next Monday for our next edition of the Winner's Circle, which is presented by America's Day at the Races, the official live broadcast partner of Aqueduct Racetrack, Belmont Park, Saratoga Racecourse, and tracks nationwide. For Dan, I'm Bram. We'll see you next week.